Bugatti sue you for your Chiron rebuild?
It's become like a Lionel Messi, Ronaldo situation.
No, they don't want you exposing them and taking them.
Bugatti told him no. The CEO told him impossible. The entire automotive industry told him he was insane. But this man said, "Watch me." That man is Mat Armstrong. In 2026, Mat didn't just buy a wrecked Chiron. He declared war on the most exclusive car brand on earth, one of only 60 ever made blacklisted, written off, and left for dead. But while Bugatti saw a pile of scrap, Mat saw a legacy. This isn't just a rebuild story. It's the story of how one man made the giants of Molsheim deeply uncomfortable. This is what really happened to Mat Armstrong, the grease monkey who built an empire. Most mechanics fix cars. Mat Armstrong resurrects them. There is a difference. Fixing a car means following a manual, using approved parts, sticking to what the manufacturer intended. It is methodical. It is safe. It is forgettable. What Mat does is something else entirely. He takes vehicles that the industry has written off completely, cars that insurance companies have already paid out on, cars that dealerships won't touch, cars that experienced professionals look at and walk away from, and then he gets to work.
Procedure for it. It's barely any damage. Compared to that Rolls Royce, this is just a tap. Yeah, this is too good.
That approach built him one of the most loyal audiences on YouTube. It also set him on a collision course with one of the world's most powerful car manufacturers. But before any of that happened, there was Lester. And there was a boy with grease under his fingernails who had no idea what he was about to become. Mat Armstrong was born on the 11th of June, 1993, in Leicester, England. Not exactly the automotive capital of the world, but the city gave him something more valuable than geography. It gave him his father. Tony Armstrong was a skilled mechanic who ran his own garage, and from the time Mat was old enough to hold a spanner, he was in that garage, watching, learning, absorbing, not from textbooks, not from courses, from his dad's hands and his dad's patience, and the specific kind of knowledge that only comes from decades of doing the actual work. That foundation never left him. But Mat's first serious passion wasn't cars at all. It was BMX. He threw himself into it the way only a teenager with something to prove can. He competed internationally. He secured sponsorships from brands that sent him to France, Germany, and Dubai. He was good enough that he genuinely believed it could be his career.
Let's go.
Right, first step, find a car. Oh, we're 94. We're 94, my race number. That's my race number anyway. Of course, look, we got the British flag.
Then came Germany. Then came the BMX World Championships qualifying run. Then came a shoulder dislocation, so severe, it ended everything. Just like that, the career he had been building since his teenage years was over. Now, here is where most people would have gone quiet, retreated, found something safe and predictable to do while the ambition slowly drained out of them. Mat Armstrong went to a garage instead. He picked up jobs wherever he could find them. A motor tuning shop, a restaurant delivery run in a modified car with suspension so low it couldn't reach half the addresses on his list. Bar work. Social media management for a performance car dealership called Graham Good Motors. He was doing everything and nothing simultaneously, building skills in the margins of a life that hadn't found its shape yet. Then his girlfriend crashed her Audi TT. She drove it home from work one evening and didn't make it back in one piece. The car was written off by the insurance company. Mat bought the wreck back from them for £600. He documented the entire rebuild process on his YouTube channel, which at that point had been limping along as a BMX page with a modest following and no clear direction. That Audi TT video changed everything. Viewers responded to something they hadn't seen before. Not a polished professional in a pristine workshop, not a manufacturer-funded restoration with an unlimited budget, just a genuine person, genuinely figuring it out, being completely transparent about every mistake and every breakthrough along the way. That authenticity was the formula, and once Mat found it, he never let it go. The channel grew steadily, then quickly, then explosively. He graduated from affordable German cars to Maseratis, Bentleys, Porsches, and Lamborghinis.
What the hell? That one, too much work. This one, not enough work, but you can't put it back on the road.
Each project is bigger than the last. Each video documented not just the technical process, but the human story underneath it, the frustration of a part that wouldn't fit. the satisfaction of an engine turning over for the first time, after weeks of work, the humor of discovering that a Lamborghini Murcielago uses the same air conditioning unit as a Rover 45. People weren't watching a mechanic, they were watching a person, and that person happened to be extraordinarily good at bringing dead things back to life. By 2025, Mat Armstrong had grown his main YouTube channel to over 6 million subscribers. His Porsche rebuild alone had pulled in over 14 million views. He had sponsorships, merchandise, additional channels, and a reputation that extended well beyond the automotive YouTube world. He had built an empire from a crashed Audi TT and 600 pounds. But the bigger the project, the bigger the risk. And Mat was about to take the biggest risk of his career, one that would put him in the crosshairs of a manufacturer worth billions and force the entire automotive internet to pick a side. The Bugatti that started everything. Most people will never see a Bugatti Chiron Pur Sport in real life. Not at a car show, not on a highway, not anywhere. There are good reasons for that. Bugatti built exactly 60 of them, total, 60 cars for the entire planet. Each one is priced at around $6 million. Each one produces 1,479 horsepower from an 8-liter quad turbocharged 16-cylinder engine. Each one is capable of launching from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.3 seconds. They are not cars in the ordinary sense. They are statements, rolling proof that human engineering, when given an unlimited budget and zero compromise, can produce something that barely feels real. And then one of them crashed into the back of a cheap mini truck in Miami. The owner was Alex Gonzalez, known online as FX Alex Guite, a 25-year-old Miami-based content creator who had built his following on a rags-to-riches story involving forex trading, luxury cars, and the kind of lifestyle that makes the internet simultaneously admire and resent you.
Last time I had Andrew Tate on and he said, "What color is your Bugatti?" And Alex is here to say which one. But now you traded.
Alex had owned the Bugatti for exactly 2 months when it happened.
I wish I had 2 Bugattis now to kind of like say that to Andrew
Now
Tate.
you have 0 Bugattis.
I have nothing right now, bro.
Bro, karma.
Yeah, I know. That shit caught me bad. I was trying to shit on Andrew Tate.
2 months. He was still making monthly payments of roughly $86,000 on a car that now had its front end destroyed, its airbags deployed, its carbon fiber chassis cracked, and its transmission badly damaged. A Bugatti technician flew in from Paris specifically to inspect the wreckage. The verdict took no time at all. Total write-off, salvage title, Copart auction. Just like that, a $6 million hypercar became a number on an online bidding page. Remember Mat Armstrong? Yes, this is the moment he entered the picture. Mat heard about the crashed Chiron on October 2025 and did what he always does when he sees something rare and broken and everyone else is walking away. He booked a flight. A last-minute transatlantic trip to Miami just to look at it in person before the insurance company shipped it off to auction and the window closed forever. What he found when he got there was both worse and better than expected. Worse, because the damage was genuinely brutal. The front end was destroyed. The iconic Bugatti horseshoe grille was gone. The hood, the wings, the headlights. The transmission had taken a serious impact. The carbon fiber monocoque, the structural spine of the entire car, had absorbed forces it was never designed to handle. Better because the engine block itself had survived largely intact. The heart of the machine was still beating, just barely, but enough. Mat Armstrong looked at all of that destruction and made a decision. He was going to bring it back. Alex Gonzalez bought the wreck back from Copart himself for approximately $1.9 million after fees. That is not a typo. $1.9 million for a destroyed car. But when that car is one of 60 ever made and worth $6 million in good condition, the mathematics of salvage takes on a different logic entirely. The plan made sense on paper. Mat would lead the rebuild. Alex would own the finished product. Together, they would do what Bugatti's own quote of $1.7 million for a factory repair had made impossible to justify paying for. They would fix it themselves. What happened next is where the story stops being about a car and starts being about something much larger. Because Bugatti had its own response to this plan, and that response arrived quickly and without any softening of language. They locked the VIN. For those unfamiliar with what that means in practice, it is as complete a rejection as a manufacturer can deliver. Every authorized Bugatti dealership worldwide was blocked from selling a single part for this specific car. No headlights, no body panels, no transmission components, nothing. The car's identification number had been flagged across the entire global network. Bugatti was not going to help, and it was going to make sure nobody else in its ecosystem helped either. Their reasoning was safety. A car this complex, this powerful, this structurally intricate cannot be safely rebuilt outside an authorized facility. They weren't wrong to raise the concern. A 1,500 horsepower machine with a compromised chassis is not something where a good faith effort is sufficient. But Mat Armstrong had not flown to Miami to be told no, and the internet, watching every move of this story in real time, had not seen anything yet. The Bugatti was supposed to be Mat's greatest triumph. Nobody had anticipated it becoming something else entirely. Something that would drag in the CEO of Bugatti himself, divide an entire online community, and force the most important question Mat Armstrong had ever faced in his career. Was he actually capable of pulling this off? Or had he finally reached the one project that was genuinely beyond him, when the wheels started coming off? Every great build has a moment where everything looks fine. The car is in the garage, the plan is in place, the tools are laid out, the cameras are rolling, the audience is watching, everything feels manageable. And then you pull the first panel off and find out what you are actually dealing with. For Mat Armstrong, that moment came early, and it came hard. The strip down of the Chiron Pur Sport revealed damage that went far deeper than the photographs from the crash site had suggested. The front-end destruction was visible to anyone. But what nobody had fully anticipated was the chain reaction of damage that had traveled backward through the car at the moment of impact. The crash had shoved the engine forward inside the chassis. That single movement had crushed a coolant pipe, dented surrounding components, and fractured the cast aluminum engine mount support. The gearbox housing had shattered, and the carbon fiber monocoque, the structural core that holds the entire car together, had taken hits that raised immediate and serious questions. This was no longer a bodywork job. This was structural surgery on one of the most complex road cars ever built. The Chiron Pur Sport is not as complicated as a normal car. It is complicated on a different planet entirely. 16 cylinders, 10 radiators, an active aerodynamic system that adjusts itself at speed. A transmission so precisely engineered that simply accessing it requires splitting the entire car in two. This was not a bruised bumper. This was structural surgery on a machine that most engineers worldwide have never touched. And Mat Armstrong had never worked on a Bugatti before in his life. Mate Rimac, CEO of Bugatti Rimac, entered the public conversation in January 2026 with a statement that stopped the automotive internet cold. He said that splitting a Chiron to access the transmission was something only 2 places in the entire world could perform. 2 authorized facilities with proprietary equipment and factory-trained engineers. Mat Armstrong's garage in Leicester, England, was not one of them. Rimac didn't stop there. He posted a detailed video on Instagram that was part technical education, part direct response to the rebuild project. He addressed the claim that Bugatti headlights cost $174,000 each. He said it was not true. He said the prices being circulated in various videos were inflated and inaccurate. He was pointedly but carefully correcting a narrative that had been building around Armstrong's project for weeks. Then came the 3-dimensional printing moment. At some point in the rebuild process, Armstrong had floated the idea of 3-dimensionally printing certain replacement parts. Given that official Bugatti parts were completely unavailable due to the locked VIN, it was a logical place to look. No parts through legitimate channels. Make the parts yourself. Rimac's response was unambiguous. You cannot 3-dimensionally print parts for a Bugatti Chiron. Not because the technology doesn't exist in any form. Bugatti itself uses 3-dimensional printing in its own manufacturing process. But what they use is the product of millions of dollars of research and development, combined with engineering expertise that cannot be replicated in a private garage. Printing a structural component for a 1,500 horsepower car and assuming it will perform safely is not improvisation. It is a completely different category of risk. The internet, predictably, took all of this and ran. Here was the CEO of one of the world's most exclusive car manufacturers, publicly challenging a self-taught YouTuber from Leicester. Here was a billion-dollar brand drawing a very visible line in the sand. The story exploded far beyond the automotive YouTube community. Car magazines covered it, mainstream tech publications covered it. The debate stopped being about whether Mat could fix the Bugatti and became about something much larger. Who owns a car once it leaves the factory? Does a manufacturer have the right to prevent an owner from repairing their own property? And where does consumer freedom end and genuine safety concern begin? But behind that measured public face, things were getting complicated in ways the cameras hadn't yet fully captured. Because the controversy wasn't finished, it was just getting started. And then came the moment that split his entire audience down the middle. The controversy nobody saw coming.
We had the issue with the radiator. It was leaking out of this corner, like down here, just out of the core. Now, what I wanted to just cover it here, some people have been saying, oh, Bob didn't test it, Bob didn't test it. Bob tested the radiator before it come in, but what we've seen and what I don't think is shown in the main channel.
Mat Armstrong had survived everything the rebuild threw at him so far. The blacklist, the CEO, the structural damage nobody anticipated. He had stayed composed through all of it. Then his own audience came for him, and that was a different kind of pressure entirely. It started with an airbag. During the strip down of the Chiron, Mat Armstrong made a discovery that he shared openly with his audience.
This is weird. This didn't look that bad.
No, not at all.
Until we seen it. Here comes a wheel. The caliper might go again.
He found that the Bugatti's knee airbags and front passenger airbag shared identical part numbers with airbags from an Audi A3, a car worth approximately $15,000. In the same Volkswagen Group family as Bugatti, different price bracket, very different prestige level. He took it further. The steering wheel airbag, he found, was the same part used in an Aston Martin DB11. These airbags, available in the aftermarket for less than $50 each, were sitting inside a car with a $6 million price tag. Mat presented this as a fascinating piece of automotive reality, a window into how even the most exclusive manufacturers share components across their broader corporate families. It was the kind of detail his audience had always loved, proof that the emperor occasionally has fewer clothes than advertised. The audience did not universally agree. A significant portion of his viewership reacted with alarm rather than fascination. If official Bugatti parts were unavailable due to the locked VIN, and Mat was fitting Audi A3 airbags into a 1,500 horsepower hypercar, was that actually safe? Was a self-taught mechanic from Leicester qualified to make that call on a car of this complexity? That question cut deep, and it spread fast. Mate Rimac's response arrived quickly, and it was precise. He acknowledged that yes, some components are shared across Volkswagen Group vehicles. But he drew a critical distinction that many people had glossed over in the excitement of the discovery. Shared part numbers do not automatically mean interchangeable parts in all conditions. Rimac demonstrated this with a specific and sobering example. During cold weather testing of Bugatti's newest model at -20°C, engineers discovered that the leather upholstery on the dashboard stiffened enough at that temperature to interfere with airbag deployment. Bugatti had to specifically weaken the leather in certain areas during production to ensure the airbag could break through correctly under real-world conditions. But Mat Armstrong had his own answer ready. He addressed the airbag criticism directly and publicly. He pointed out that Bugatti does not manufacture its own airbags from scratch. It sources them from suppliers within the Volkswagen Group, the same suppliers that make airbags for the Audi A3. Bugatti's version costs exponentially more. The underlying safety engineering is the same. He was not cutting corners. He was following the component trail to its logical origin. Then came the podcast. In a recent interview on a show called Cars and Money, hosted by Rob Moore and Carl Hartley, Armstrong opened up about his relationship with Rimac, reframing the public narrative. He compared their dynamic to a Messi versus Ronaldo rivalry, cordial in person, combustible on the internet.
Bugatti sue you for your Chiron rebuild.
It's become like a Lionel Messi Ronaldo situation.
No, they don't want you exposing them and taking them on head to head.
He said they had mutual friends. He said they both genuinely loved cars. He said the corporate machinery around Bugatti had taken them back and forth, turning it into something the internet could package as a feud. He said Rimac had allegedly indicated privately that the parts situation could be resolved, only for someone else within the Bugatti corporate structure to veto it. That detail was significant, and the comments section of the podcast filled up immediately. Some viewers aligned with Armstrong completely. If Bugatti does not want independent repairs on their cars, they should buy the car directly from the insurance company before it reaches auction. Once it is sold on the open market, the owner has rights. Others push back equally hard. Mat Armstrong, regardless of his skill and his good intentions, was attempting something that carried genuine consequences. A 1,500 horsepower machine with compromised structural integrity is not a project where good intentions are sufficient. This was no longer just about a car. This was about whether Mat Armstrong was who his audience believed him to be, a fearless problem solver, or someone who had walked into a room he wasn't prepared for, and the argument showed no signs of ending.
The reason we come to look at this: 1, 4 doors, 5 seats, big car, do a lot of motorway driving in Miami, so it's an ultimate cruiser. 2,
Mat Armstrong had walked into this project as the underdog everyone was rooting for. He was still the underdog, but now some of those people had stopped rooting. The fallout and what it really cost him. Losing subscribers is one thing. Plenty of creators have lost subscribers. You say something that rubs people the wrong way. You take on a project that divides your audience. Numbers dip, things settle, life moves on. What Mat Armstrong faced was something with more edges than that. Because the controversy around the Bugatti rebuild didn't just generate criticism, it generated a question that cut to the absolute core of everything his channel was built on. And once that question was in the air, it refused to go away. Was Mat Armstrong being straight with his audience? Or was he performing confidence he didn't actually have? That is a dangerous question for a creator whose entire brand is built on authenticity. Mat had never claimed to be a trained engineer. He had never pretended to have factory-level expertise. His whole identity was the opposite of that. Regular guy from Leicester, winging it, figuring it out as he goes. That identity had always been his greatest strength. Suddenly, it looked like it might be his greatest liability. The corporate machinery of Bugatti had been watching every video. Every claim about parts costs, every suggestion about three-dimensional printing, every decision Mat made in that garage. And they had been fact-checking it publicly in real time.
in 24 hours.
Do you ever get any manufacturers call you for advice?
Yeah, everything that we've had with them has been a nightmare. If Ferrari are not...
Rimac said the parts prices Mat had referenced in his videos were inaccurate and inflated. He said the figures being circulated online about Bugatti repair costs were largely myths. He said the headlights did not cost $174,000, as had been widely reported. He gave a lower figure, still an extraordinary number by any normal standard, but the point landed regardless. Mat Armstrong had put numbers in front of his audience that the CEO of the car company was publicly contradicting. The right to repair dimensions made everything more complex. Armstrong had signed nothing. He had accepted full responsibility for the project publicly and explicitly. He had stated on camera that he waived any warranty claims. He understood he was operating outside Bugatti's approved network. He was not asking for the manufacturer's blessing. He was asking only that they sell him the parts he needed to do the job. That position resonated enormously with a large segment of his audience. The right to repair movement had been gathering serious momentum across the automotive and technology worlds for years. The idea that a manufacturer can sell you a product and then prevent you from repairing it sits uneasily with many people. Mat's situation became a crystallizing example of exactly that tension. But the other side of the argument had its own weight. One podcast host put it plainly during the Cars and Money conversation. If Armstrong's repairs were inadequate and something went wrong at speed, the headline would read, "Bugatti crash injures family." Not Mat Armstrong's crash, Bugatti. And the reputational damage to a brand that sells itself on absolute engineering perfection would be severe and lasting. Bugatti was not protecting bureaucracy. It was protecting the integrity of a 1,500 horsepower machine that someone was going to drive on public roads. Both arguments were correct, simultaneously. That was the problem. And here is what the view count told you about how the audience felt. Mat's Bugatti videos were pulling enormous numbers. One video alone generated 6.8 million views in just 4 days. His channel, sitting at over 6.3 million subscribers as of March 2026, was not collapsing under the weight of the controversy. It was growing inside it. The criticism was loud. The support was louder. His sponsors hadn't walked away. His audience hadn't abandoned him. the broader automotive YouTube community had largely rallied behind the right to repair framing of the story. And Matt himself remained exactly what he had always been: transparent, stubborn, unfazed by the noise. There was still a Bugatti in his garage, still in pieces, still unfinished. But here is what nobody was talking about while the controversy burned. The car had started. The engine had turned over. The transmission had been separated and examined in a regular garage with basic tools and a section of wheeled garbage bin used as a stand-in for specialist equipment. The Bugatti was still in that garage, and Mat Armstrong still had something to prove. The only question left was whether he could actually finish it. The man who proved them wrong. After everything, the blacklisted VIN, the CEO's public pushback, the audience divided, the accusations flying in every direction, what actually happened? That is the question this whole story has been building toward. And the answer, as of right now in 2026, is something nobody who watched this saga unfold from the beginning fully expected. The car started. Let that land for a moment. A $6 million hypercar, written off by a Bugatti technician flown in from Paris, declared impossible to repair outside a factory by the manufacturer's own CEO, blacklisted across every authorized dealership network in the world. Mat Armstrong and his team fired it up in a private workshop in Miami. The process of getting to that moment was a masterclass in creative problem solving under impossible constraints. The broken cast aluminum engine mount support that the crash had fractured was gone. Mat's team three-dimensionally scanned the damaged component, converted it into a computer-aided design model, and had a replacement precision machined using a CNC machine. No Bugatti parts, no factory involvement, just engineering logic applied with patience and precision. The transmission mount was welded back into position. The two halves of the car, front tub and rear drivetrain frame, were rejoined using 14 titanium bolts. 10 custom-built radiators replaced the 10 destroyed originals. Audi A3 airbags, sourced and installed with detailed explanation of why they were appropriate. A bespoke exhaust system, fabricated by Valvetronic because the original was gone, and a replacement through official channels was simply not available. And then the moment of truth arrived. Everything from the coolant lines and fuel systems to the intercooler and the ECU had to be reconnected and brought back online simultaneously. There had been a real worry that the cooling system had been permanently damaged. The car had reportedly been driven at some point without coolant. On a standard vehicle, that is a significant problem. On a 1,500 horsepower hypercar with 10 radiators, it had the potential to be catastrophic. It wasn't after Mat's repair. The Chiron fired up. The new custom exhaust gave it a deeper, more aggressive sound than the original, and the car went into gear and moved under its own power. Mate Rimac had been watching, literally. He was in the comments section of one of the rebuild videos as the team worked through the transmission separation. The CEO of Bugatti, sitting at his screen, watching a self-taught mechanic from Leicester do the thing he had publicly said only two places in the world could do, with a basic two-post lift and a wheeled garbage bin used as a makeshift stand. That detail has become something of a legend within the automotive YouTube community. You can spend billions building the most complex road car in history, and somewhere out there, Mat Armstrong is going to figure out how to fix it with whatever is in the garage. For a moment, the garage in Miami was just a garage again. A man and a car and the sound of an engine that everyone said would never run. That moment lasted about as long as Mat Armstrong ever lets anything last before the next project arrives. But the story didn't stop there, because while the Chiron rebuild was still generating headlines, Mat Armstrong quietly added another chapter that nobody saw coming. He bought a second Bugatti, a repossessed Bugatti Veyron, acquired for a significantly reduced price from a repossession company. His second Bugatti project ran simultaneously with the first. Almost immediately, it threw up its own set of challenges. A gearbox issue with a repair quote attached to it of $350,000. A legal loophole that allowed Bugatti to block access to independent parts for its vehicles again. Mat fixed the gearbox issue himself, with a fuse. As of late April 2026, the Chiron Pur Sport rebuild is progressing toward roadworthiness. Still work remaining. Still, controversy attached to it. The debate about the right to repair has not been resolved, and likely won't be anytime soon. But the car that Bugatti declared impossible to fix outside a factory is closer to the road every week. And Mat Armstrong's channel, sitting at over 6.3 million subscribers, is larger than it has ever been. The Bugatti was supposed to be the project that finally stopped him, the one that proved the limits of what a regular guy winging it from Leicester could actually accomplish. Instead, it became the project that defined him, not because it was easy, not because everyone supported him, but because when the CEO of one of the world's greatest car manufacturers told him it couldn't be done outside a factory, Mat Armstrong went back to his garage, looked at the problem, and found another way. That is the full story of what really happened to Mat Armstrong in 2026. And it isn't finished yet. Mat Armstrong never claimed to be the best mechanic in the world. He just refused to accept that something was impossible. A $6 million hypercar, a blacklisted VIN, a CEO saying no, a divided audience, every obstacle the automotive world could throw at one man. And the car started anyway. That is not a story about a Bugatti. That is a story about what happens when stubbornness meets skill, and neither one blinks first. If this story fired something up in you today, drop a comment below. Are you Team Armstrong or Team Bugatti? And if someone in your life needs to hear this one, share it with them right now.